Hello students, this lecture we're going to look at the microscopic anatomy of the bone tissue, and primarily we'll be looking at the microscopic anatomy of compact bone. Remember that the bone is a living tissue, and that means that we're going to have to be able to get nutrients to those bone cells that make up the living component of bone, and then we're going to have to get rid of waste. And the bone, compact bone, is set up in what are called repeating structural units called osteons. And osteons are composed of a bone matrix, and then it has a central canal called the Havisham canal that contains blood vessels and nerves. So if we look at that osteon, here's the structural unit of bone. It's called an osteon. It's repeated millions and millions of times over within the actual bone tissue. Here's the lamella. This is the actual bone matrix. Here are the collagen fibers that are contained within that bone matrix. And then finally here is the central canal that will contain the capillaries, veins, and the nerve fibers. Notice the collagen fibers, notice how they run in opposing directions to be able to resist twisting forces. And notice that all together this has kind of almost what we call like a tree ring-like structure. Now the osteons, within those osteons then we have canals and various size canals that will penetrate into the bone tissue that will allow nutrients and waste to move from the bone cells back into the capillaries and out of the capillaries and back into the veins. Well, one of the small cavities we have, first of all, we have what are called perforating canals. These are canals that come off the central canal. We have this lacunae. These are small cavities that contain the osteocytes. And here's the caniculi. These are very small hair-like canals that collect the lacunae. If we take a look at that, we're going to cut out a section of the bone. Here you see, here are the osteons. Here are these repeating structural units. Notice in the center of each osteon is the central canal. And in the central canal, the nerves and blood vessels and veins run. And then here's the lamellae. Here is the bone matrix. If we begin to blow that up, again, here is the central canal containing the nerve, the vein, the artery. Here are the caniculi. Here are the small canals that are coming off of that central canal. Here are the lacuna. These are like the spaces in which the osteocytes are filled. Let's take an even closer look at that. So again, here I'm breaking apart. I'm taking a cross-section of an osteon, that structural unit of the bone matrix. Here is the central canal with the nerves, the veins, the arteries. Here are the little caniculi. Here are the little canals that are coming off that central canal. Then here is a lacunae. This is a space in which the osteocyte sits. You can see it right here as well. Here's the osteocyte, and the osteocyte sits within the lacuna. And here is the canal, the caniculi, the small canals that eventually will feed back to the central canal. The idea being here, the analogy would be that think about like canals and lagoons. And lagoons are like another name for ponds. And so essentially out of the central canal, we then nutrients and waste, they can flow through the small canals to the ponds, the lagoons where the osteocytes live. And then the waste can flow back out from the osteocytes, back out of the ponds and lagoons, back through the canals, to the central canals, back to the vein to be removed. Thank you.